have another recap. All right. Yeah, today was a rough day again. I don't know. It's been a rough week so far. Uh, we basically what we did today, which is like the big report of the day, is we ran into the weekly internal on NQ. So now we've got weekly consecutive candle SMT on the highs with ES, right? So we'll see where we go from here. Obviously, the internal, external into all-time highs seems like the most simple frame to make here. Yeah, and we'll see. On the daily chart, obviously, looking a little bearish now, short term, right? We're about to close, yeah, a daily bullish order block and breaker here, so that will be interesting. If we look at the hourly, we basically just completed a huge market maker sell model today. The cleanest setup today actually was for me in London. I was forward testing a London model in London, and the short in London 3 a.m. power of 3 framework here off this hourly propulsion block was the juice. New York session was fucking shit. Now, I took this on the one Top Step Combine that I have, because obviously I only have 4 Express accounts. So, yeah, that's what I used to forward test this, and caught a nice winning day, which revived that account from almost being blown, because I've just kind of been, I don't know, all over the place on that account, fucking around basically. Yeah, but let's focus in on New York. Coming into New York, we tapped this hourly gap, closed this hourly propulsion block, and like essentially all we did today is run back up into that propulsion block, continue into weekly internal, retrace to about equilibrium of the range, and then from there kind of get the beginnings of a continuation lower. That makes it sound very simple. In the end, it was kind of more complicated than that, I guess. Starting off here, we have at this hourly gap also, but also the 4 hour. I want to draw your eyes to this internal pool right here, right? This 4 hour gap. I had the idea that potentially we could run into that 4 hour gap and then go take the weekly internal. Why was I thinking that? Well, ES already took the internal like overnight or yesterday. Yeah, overnight. So we had a SMT at the internal before we took it on NQ. And then as you just saw when I dropped down to the 15-minute, especially with this 930 Judas, we had some really nice targets here, right? Relative equal highs. Now, had 930 just ran this, today might have been very different, because I don't think I would have looked at all for this initially, but I mean, honestly, that didn't really impact the day that crazily. The only thing that I kind of had off of this was we got this 15-minute consecutive with ES here on the lows, and I was like, okay, maybe we don't actually have to take the weekly internal. And when we then displaced higher here, or actually no, it was this, that was the SMT, like 930 to 945 consecutive candle. Yeah, anyway, so when that happened, I was like, okay, maybe we don't actually have to go any higher. And then on this, or any lower, and then on this initial run higher, we actually got a consecutive candle SMT with YM on this wick, and ended up rejecting that and going lower to take the internal after all, before running any sort of, 4 hour gap here. A whole lot of jargon just to say basically I knew what the draw was high time frame. Like, I had this marked out since basically like the morning or overnight, I guess. I knew this was kind of where price was headed today. That was kind of the game plan for me. But I got a little caught up with these relative equal highs, thinking maybe we're going to go up and then down. But yeah, overall, what I can say is super fucking ugly AM session again. Like, we just have not had a clean open in a while, and that's kind of annoying. I think last week, Thursday, when we ran the daily equal high stack, was like the last clean AM session, quote unquote, but like there was no setup in there. But again, here we open, right, pump higher, end up going lower instead, reversing back higher, and then we run lower. So it's like a whole lot of chop out of the open, right? Just kind of seek and destroy, running everything everywhere that we can. And then we kind of form this little breaker here with the 15-minute SMT on these lows. I didn't love the displacement. Honestly, like always when these trades kind of look like this and then they don't deliver, they always look kind of like super dumb. But then when they do deliver, it's like, okay, I'm really letting a little bit of 1 minute consolidation, break the framework that I had going. Again, this trade was mainly just born of the fact that we have these super low resistance targets up here that I just thought we'd have a chance to go run. And then when we got a consecutive candle SMT in the macro with a breaker, I thought, okay, sure, let's give it a stab. End up getting along, obviously, at this blue line at the breaker. Instantly, we displace into, drawdown. And also we had this consecutive candle SMT with YM. So I just quickly add that to the chart. We get a consecutive candle SMT with YM. We're mucking about. You'll see here, there's a clean, high, low, higher, high. There is a clean bearish breaker here, which we close below here at 10:08. And I do have the rules of like, if I take a breaker in a macro and then there's an opposing setup, I'm sticking to the original trade because a few times I've kind of flipped when that happened, and every single time the original trade played out. Today, I decided against that because at the moment of this close, I was thinking to myself, or like pre this close, I was like, okay, if we close below, my drawn liquidity is very much in range right below us. I think we're bearish. I'm just taking this long because it, kind of presented itself, but maybe it's not the best long. And so if we get this kind of deconfirmation of the longs, I'll be able to get out at a bit more of a respectable, position, essentially. Now, the flipping short was, for me, not initially an option just because it was a 70-point stop. And had I done that, I would have break even at the external here and just never really got anywhere. And even if I hadn't done that, we never actually would have reached to our even, holding this all the way to do anything. So there's that. Yeah. That was that. I closed this here for like half an hour loss. And I think that was a decent, move, I guess. So yeah. Yes, and then I'm just gonna quickly annotate this for when I later journal these screenshots of the trade into Notion. Oops, did not mean to make that white. I'm telling you. Definitely did not mean to do that. So yeah, from there, obviously price ends up trading lower, then coming back up into this rejection block up here. I don't know, the random 1 minute rejection block, just putting in all the work here. You could also say maybe it's this breaker, whichever way you want to say it. I thought today we should have definitely ran these highs. I don't know. Anyway, we end up selling off, going into 1050 macro. We're kind of approaching the weekly internal. I guess I would have looked for some sort of continuation short if there could have been anything. Obviously, it wasn't. We run into the lows, and then 1150 macro fizzles out down here, kind of consolidating after hitting the lows. And then if we continue for the macro model, 1150 macro. Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of eyeing longs maybe, but we didn't quite have any SMT or whatever, so nothing much happened. In the 1250 macro, this is where stuff gets interesting again. So going into the 1250 macro, we had just retraced down into a 15-minute gap that was like somewhere here, and then displaced out of it. And initially we ran above here, and if we quickly slide over to ES, you will see that we have a SMT like so. So it's a wrong annotation. A 15-minute SMT like this on this run of this short-term high here, and we get a small little breaker here. But as you already know, and I already know from like the past few days, the winning setups don't give me fills. Like entries here, yeah, not happening. Price goes to 2R without filling. Sure, cool. But looking at this chart, there was again something interesting, which if we zoom out to the 15-minute, that was what I basically only had marked out, which is we retrace to the 15-minute, right? We displace out of the 15-minute and we close a propulsion block here. And I was like, okay, yeah, we have not consecutive, but we have 15-minute SMT at these highs. But with this close above the propulsion block, I like longs. What else do we have as we close above this propulsion block? We had not consecutive, but we had SMT on the lows, right? The 1 p.m. open or 1 p.m. 15-minute candle on YM runs below the 12:30 candle, and obviously NQ we have 12:30 here, 1 p.m. here. Now at the time the wick wasn't down here; it was like just tapping the propulsion block basically, so it was even more of an SMT. Yeah, but we had an SMT. We were tapping a 15-minute PD array, and in my opinion, my idea basically for the rest of the session was just, now that we've kind of tapped this weekly internal, we are going to go chase these damn low resistance relative equal highs up here. They were the death of me today, bro. But I mean, even if that weren't the case, like just based off kind of mechanical SMT, 15-minute PD arrays, and the 1-minute formation of, short-term low here, short-term high here, lower low here, close above in the macro, this would have been a valid trade. And yeah, this trade, I was fully expecting we're going to just straight rip higher. Like, I didn't see two ways about it. I was actually eyeing some sort of setup like this for my intuition model, but then it ended up forming in a way where it was a valid macro model breaker. So it was like, okay, perfect, I'll just take it on these accounts instead. Yeah, ended up being a loss. What are you gonna do? I think this is one of those ones I'm not even mad at. Like that was a good trade, just happened to be off. Yeah, obviously it always looks stupid when you kind of like, when your bias and framework is wrong. It always looks a little dumb afterwards, but I think that was a fine trade. I'm not as happy with this one here, but I think it's also still valid. I like that I kind of saved myself some extra losing stuff here. Yay. Again, frustrating that the setup that delivers doesn't fill, but that's just the story of my life right now in a way. Like, I swear to God, because we're about to hop into the intuition model, and boy, was this fun today. So breakdown here is I took one trade that I should not have taken, which ended up losing. It was a bad trade. And then I took one trade that I wanted to take one trade, which maybe you can already tell down here. Yeah, no fill. So I mean, like, I'm dead ass like tweaking off the fact that like the last 3 or 4 or maybe 5 trades, the last 5 good frameworks that I had where like price delivers the framework that I'm looking at, I don't get the entry. Like across my models, it might be the last 5 trades, they just all deliver without me. It's actually insane. So now to the bad trade, it was actually a short. So yeah, at this point, after we broke down, like this would have been when the macro model loss came in, and we tapped this 5-minute bearish order block and, you know, displaced again. I was like, okay, we've got a 5-minute propulsion block here. We run up, we tap the propulsion block. And I was just super bearish. I thought definitely we're going to go deliver. And my idea was basically just after we tapped the propulsion block, we got a 1-minute propulsion block off the 5-minute propulsion block. And I shorted that. And this is not a good setup. 1-minute propulsion block off a 5-minute propulsion block. I think I've done that once before, or like a 5-minute gap. That's not valid. If it's a 5-minute propulsion block or 5-minute FVG that we deliver off of, we need a 5-minute propulsion block. And if we're going to take a 5-minute propulsion block, then we just take the 5-minute propulsion block. You know what I mean? Like literally just go here, and then of course this is the reason why I didn't even look at doing this, because the stop is so big that even if we deliver the external, you know, you're still looking at, you know, an extra probably 70 points below that you need. And, you know, yeah, not likely that that's necessarily going to deliver, and that also would have ended up being a break even. But I think in general, I was just kind of frustrated, or I've been frustrated with these two models and just New York session in general. And yeah, I took a bad trade there. I can definitely take accountability for that. Overall, that's just how the cookie crumbles. But then we turn around and we frame, you know, the reversal from the weekly internal, again, just thinking that like not even necessarily up here, right? But like unfilled gaps here, relative equal highs here, low resistance liquidity here. Like we're not even, you know, greedy to look for this. Also rebalance to, you know, equilibrium, all that good stuff. Initially, like we put in this low, high, lower low, right? And then we get this 5-minute to close like this, and I'm already like, okay, I'm eyeing some sort of breaker here, right? And then 1120 opens, and ES actually puts in a lower low at 1120 right here. So we actually have a SMT here. And then off that SMT, we displace and close above. And at this point, I like this a lot because the trade isn't longer as ambitious. That was formulated bad. But the targeting of this, you know, framework is no longer as ambitious. I don't know why I'm saying it so weird, but because we have an SMT at the short-term low here. So price shouldn't run this if the SMT is valid and the idea is valid. So we can move our stop to here, which means targeting 3R puts us right about here. And as you can see, where does price go? It goes to 3R. Where does price not go? To my entry. Even had I been like locked in enough and trailed my entry here, I still wouldn't have got filled. And yeah, ended up canceling the limit once we hit 2R. So that's just how that's been going for me. So yeah. But so far this week, I've taken a few trades, and I've had today one setup for each model that framework is right, but price doesn't give me an entry. And then yesterday, I don't know where I'm pointing at, somewhere here is the New York session, right? If you go back to the last video, same exact thing happened. There were two very nice trades that I framed for both models, one each, that just don't give a fill. So yeah, I don't know. This week I've now had what? Let me think this through. Macro model wise, right? 3 losing frameworks and 2 winning frameworks. So I should be up 1R across that idea, like total. But then with the one trade being closed at, you know, half a loss, I would be up 1.5R. Instead, I'm just straight up down 2.5, right? Because the 2 winning setups just don't fill, don't give an entry. And then with the intuition model, I've taken 2 losses. As I take accountability for this bad loss that I took today, I don't think it's a valid trade per the model. So technically, the model actually performs, 1 losing framework, 2 winning frameworks. But even counting this one today, we'll say 2 winning frameworks, 2 losing frameworks, which would come out to a total of plus 4R on the week. But yeah, no fills on the winning frameworks. So, yeah, -2 instead, which is just rough. Man, my accounts are looking rough. You can start with Lucid. These were at 52,200, I believe, peak. So we're about $700 off of max. So 1,300 left for the max drawdown about on these accounts. And then if we look at Top Step, we're basically in the same situation, I believe, where these accounts should be now at around, they're actually at 1,200, brilliant. So I think this is the lowest my balance has been since pre that last payout. Yeah, basically took a payout in June, right? And then ever since then, it's just been rough. It's just loss after loss after loss. Wins don't get fills. Yeah, maybe it's just a summer month bad price action. But yeah. And again, I'm confident we can bounce back. Like, again, this still gives me 12 trades. Like, I need to, be negative 12R from today on to blow the accounts. That's not happening. I'm telling you right now, that's not fucking happening. But yeah, man, it's kind of rough. It's kind of rough. Just seeing this makes me kind of feel very anxious in a way. Because I had this grand plan of, not grand plan, but I had the plan, okay, take this payout, and now we start, scaling the risk as we hit 3K balance on the account, we scale the risk, and we start looking for a really big payout, and instead we're just kind of, yeah, down like 8 or 9R from there, so this just sucks, I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, I guess this is a accountability account showing. But yeah, hey, all right, like I said, the one good thing is the London trade today that revived this combine here, which was also about to be blown because I've just been trading very poorly on that through the New York Opens mostly on previous days. But since today I got a max win day in London, I was able to just sit back and relax. That London trade, by the way, that London trade was peak. And yeah, New York has just been very shit, unfortunately. I mean, at least for my models and how I, look at the markets. Obviously, other people might be doing well, even other ICT traders. That's just the name of the game with the probabilities. But yeah, I feel like it's just kind of it's getting to me in a way, right? Like, I haven't been so profitable. Like, let's say I haven't lost this much since I started winning consistently, right? Like, I didn't have a losing month from January to June. I had 2 break-even months and 4 winning months, and then July I had my first losing month, and now August looks like we might be going back to back. So this is rather demoralizing in a way, I guess. Yeah, man. Oh yeah, the London trade, which again, like, pure clean. We run into an hourly gap or 15-minute gap somewhere here, right? The hourly propulsion block. we SMT the highs here 258 to 306, so it's even 15-minute consecutive candle SMT on the highs. We have a breaker right here, taps it, and I mean, yeah, that's technically, like, if I were to have caught this on, say, like a funded challenge where I don't have like max winning shit or whatever, not a funded challenge but a funded account, like say I took this on my Lucid accounts, for example, I could have, TP'd. I think I took it off at 3R, which almost got edged here. Look at that. But then like I could have left runners to the weekly internal, which would have been like a crazy cool trade. And like, see, that's how easily the day could be different. But at the moment, as I mentioned, I was forward testing that London framework. But yeah, it could have been an 18R runner into the weekly internal. So that's how different the day could have been. Again, clean London trade. New York, just bullshit. Yeah, I don't know. The shorts, I was like, I was aware that shorts were probably the play, and price action delivered so ugly that I still got caught up not being able to short. So yeah, I'm probably just yapping now for like the last 10 minutes because again, I feel like that's what I like to do when I'm frustrated, just kind of vent a little. But yeah, man, I guess there's nowhere to go here but up. Well, that's not true. Obviously, there would be some account blowing to do towards the downside of myself, I guess, in a way. But we're bullish on ourselves, so yeah. To put it in trading terms, we're just retracing to some high time frame internal, and then from there we're gonna distribute higher and expand, and that's what I hope shall be reflected in the accounts. One thing I can say very, I guess, proudly is that I'm not like crashing out on any of my funded accounts and just like revenge trading or taking like trades that have like no business being in. Like even the bad trade today, yeah. Anyway, one thing I will say, I back tested this London model for like August, because London, I've been kind of keeping an eye on London right now, since I don't have uni, so I have time in the mornings to actually like trade London potentially, like I did today. But the model has been so, like, London has been so good, and this model has played out so well over the past 2 weeks. I think there were like 6 trades, 5 wins, 1 loss, if you were targeting like static 3R over the last 2 weeks. And then yesterday there were actually 2 potential setups, so technically even 1 more. But past that, there was like 1 break or 2 break even trades, with going break even at like a strict 2R in the first week of August, and then so far no other setups. So I don't know how in like a few days of July's price action that I looked at, like I don't know how, if this model really is like something that I can look at seriously long term, or if it's really just like up to London kind of like phases, I guess, where sometimes there's market phases where London delivers really cleanly and New York kind of doesn't do shit. And then usually there's phases where like Asia and London kind of don't do shit and New York is clean. So maybe it's something where I can use this as a pivot, maybe for like the intuition model when New York is being so shit. Like if I had traded London instead of New York this week, I'd be up a minimum of 6R without runners. So, and with runners, obviously today with that weekly internal, it would have been probably like a little more than that. So yeah, that's I guess something that I think something like that is kind of harder to back test though, because I feel like being able to quantify conditions when you're like skipping through a day in like 5 minutes is much harder than when you're actually sitting with the price during a session for like multiple hours and kind of get that feel that it's just not doing what it kind of could be doing, or maybe should be doing. Anyway, long yap session there at the end, but probably needed that. Now, in terms of like looking at London tomorrow, do I want to put my Lucid accounts up for it potentially? I think not. I think I'm just gonna stick with kind of what I've been doing. If there's like a setup where it's like, fuck, there's no way this doesn't play, maybe I'll take it on my Lucid accounts, but probably not. So anyway, yeah, maybe I'll start making separate London recap videos, but I think that's a little extra, to be fair. Maybe only for days where there's a trade, because I feel like if there's no trade, because it's not like I trade the whole London session with this kind of framework that I'm looking at. It's really just the 3 a.m. open and then look for a manipulation, because that's just something that tends to happen a lot anyway. Yap. That's the recap. Shit day. I'm fucking annoyed. And hopefully that we just keep executing and not like the one intuition model short that I shouldn't have taken, but like the other trades that I should be taking and the trades that don't end up getting filled. If we keep executing those and at some point price clears up to actually, be willing to fill me when trades are winning, then, maybe we can get back in the flow of things and start recovering our accounts from the sort of, trailed drawdown that they're in. Because, none of the accounts aren't really in drawdown, right? It's just that the fucking drawdown trails, and that's technically putting them in drawdown, right? Yeah. Anyway, everyone understands how that works, so I probably don't have to explain it. And I don't really care to, because, this is just a journal for myself, and if you're watching this, I don't know what the fuck you're still doing here after 30 minutes or some shit, probably, so, yeah.